Watching someone's star rise right in front of you is an incredible thing. It's quite humbling, actually. You want to be a part of that story as you watch it. And that's what we did with this guest, Helen Herimbi, a writer and a broadcaster, but also a very intriguing mind. You can tell from the way she thinks. You can tell from the way she speaks. You can tell from the perspectives and views that she holds that she's no ordinary person. I like how she writes about entertainment and music, and how she also presents entertainment and music. We found out more about Helen in this week's episode.
Okay.
Round of applause and avalanche of clapping.
I said to someone yesterday, what is industry rule number
4,080?
And they said, I think if you don't have money, just don't go to the club.
You purists too, hip-hop purists.
I think if you know hip-hop music.
Hip-hop snobbery, that's what this is.
No, it's not even snobbery. And like I was doing it for a video, so now I feel like, should I keep it because it's a hip-hop person, or should I not keep it? So if I do decide to keep it, you guys can't like put this part into the video.
Wow. Record company rule number 4,080, if you're listening and you don't know. Record company people are shady. It's a Tribe Called Quest, a line that I think Q-Tip and them coined a while ago. Industry rule number 4,080 is actually what it is. But trust you to know this.
Okay.
As far as I'm concerned, you're my favorite music journalist out here in the world. And I don't say that lightly. I've known a lot over the years.
Is there a prize for this?
No, you get nothing.
It.
And for that, you
guys
get a
didn't
whole
even,
bunch of
applause.
You didn't even give me like a little mug or something.
Did you not hear his applause when you came in?
Yeah, I did the clap. I can do it again.
I mean, even
all I need
even
is
I
one
like
clap.
that. I would love a...
Okay, fine. I won't take the clap. Nobody wants the clap.
No, not that kind of
but
clap.
I will take the applause. Thank you.
Helen, welcome to Key Africans Unlocked, man.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
No, it's a pleasure, man. I mean, it was a no-brainer, like I said. I've really respected you over the years. You've done some incredible stuff in the space. Personal friend, obviously. So that's...
Hey now!
That means a lot. That means we don't take that lightly, you know? So it's good to have you here and good to pick your brain about a few things, you know?
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I believe I'm the first woman here, right?
Yeah.
Who told you
Women's
that?
lives matter. So
I know, I didn't tell you that.
I'm like honored and stuff. I guess.
So you did your research. Typical
Sure,
music
I'll
journalist.
take that.
Women's lives matter.
For sure.
Can I tell you what we don't do here?
What?
We don't go there.
Okay, let's not.
If you want to go there, you can go there.
No. Let's go where you go.
Yeah, I just feel like, you know, one of the things that, you are our first woman here and it matters. But I want us to go into more than that. You know, I want us to not be about the woman stuff because you're not my favorite music journalist because you're a woman. You know
Thank
what I mean?
goodness.
Yeah, you're my favorite music journalist because you're dope.
Period.
Dopeness is all that matters. Do you see yourself as a music journalist? Be honest. Yeah.
That's what my Twitter bio says. So
Okay,
it must
nice.
be true.
I know you do a bunch of other things.
No, everything pretty much stems from me being a music journalist. So that is the core, I think.
So my thing is, do you have like I'm trying to figure out what to call it, like a personal editorial campus? Like, do you have an angle that your entire journalism kind of revolves around? Do you want to expose people to a specific type of music, or what grounds you? What's
Hey,
there?
people don't like that word. Hey, expose. Expose.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Replace, insert whichever word.
No, I don't know. I feel like I'm in a job interview right now. I feel like I have to think about
No, that's the last thing I want you to feel like. Okay,
I feel like, wait. Let me think about what you're asking me. If there's a particular agenda I have.
Let me put it this way.
comes
Okay,
to-
let me give you a different spin on it. When I was on radio, say 20 years ago, I'm showing my age. But when I joined Radio Phoenix, my first thing, at the time, there was a whole movement of Zambian musicians at the time who were trying to get a break with a sound that was not known as much. And so my whole thing, I was on radio playing, Seal and whatever else. But bubbling under was this desire to kind of showcase a sound that people didn't know about, to be that guy who kind of brings that to the fore and lets people know that, there's this stuff as well. And so that's for maybe 2-3 years. That's what I was all about,
Yeah.
And so that, in a sense, I'm just trying to figure out,
Yeah. I think for me, the most important thing is to give South African musicians a chance to talk about their artistry. So it can be like mainstream artists, young people bubbling under, as you say, and all of that. But my point is like, let's not just ask them, so what's coming up next?
Yeah.
What is this album about? Listen to the album, and then you'll have proper questions. Because I think too often we're like lauding American radio people like, oh, wow, that was an in-depth. Yeah, you can do that too with your own artists. You know what I mean? You don't constantly have to be like, who's getting divorced, who is banging who. Yeah, we don't care unless it's in the music. Then I can ask you about that.
Yeah.
But my focus is to allow or to promote South African musicians telling their own stories.
Brilliant.
Do you feel like there's like a lack in that respect with your fellow music journals, that people don't want to listen to the music, they just want to write about it? People don't want to get in depth with an artist, they just want to interview them. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like the fact that this person actually makes music is an afterthought. I remember I think it was a tweet that you once sent or some post that you made on your blog or something where you said, yeah, I actually do listen to the music you send me to review.
Yeah.
I actually do pay attention to the stuff you invite me to talk about. It's not like I'm not going to listen to the music and just churn out a review. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you sometimes feel like you're a lone voice or that your kind are dwindling in the space you're in?
I think that our media space is in a tricky position because a lot of people, we have a lot of online spaces, but really if you want to get a salary and all of that stuff, you have to work in an established space, right? And those established spaces are spaces like newspapers, magazines, TV or whatever, right? And even in those spaces, there isn't enough encouragement to specialize anymore. So like when I was starting out like 10 years ago, you had a music journalist, a film journalist, an arts or like theater or dance journalist, people who were dedicated to that. And over the years, it's become, you have to be a music journalist and write about film and also and, right? And that puts a lot on your plate. And it also means that people who don't have a genuine interest in something are tasked with writing about it.
Just because you're a good writer or just because you're there?
Because you're hired. If you're an entertainment reporter, they might ask you, I'm not saying where I work, but I'm saying...
Of course not. Of course not. We're not talking about where you work.
They might ask you to write about Shane Eagle's new album and also about the Bala's divorce. You know what I mean? Like, there isn't a lot of specializing anymore, but there are quite a few music journalists who are amazing. Like Lindo Guhle is amazing, Tseriso is amazing, Mercia is amazing. There's a whole bunch of people that you should be reading, but you're not because
yeah, that's
unfortunate. Yeah,
it is unfortunate, but it kind of sounds like that age-old conversation about substance versus, I don't know, popularity or content versus pizzazz or whatever. I just feel like when you have built a platform where people trust your word about stuff, you should take it seriously when you give that word. Seriously enough to do research, seriously enough to actually know what you're talking about, the substance of what you're speaking of.
Yeah.
But then I guess journalism across the board kind of suffers from that, where are you really about what you say you are about? Do you do what you say you do on the tin? Or are you just someone who looks good on screen, or are you just somebody who happens to have a great surname? Because I feel like sometimes in all spaces, people get into that space based on other things that have nothing to do with the job. Especially in the music and creative space.
That's how Clive Davis got into the record business.
By what?
He didn't mean to be a record man. He was a lawyer. Have you guys
entertainment
seen
lawyer? I read his book, yeah.
No,
he wasn't even an entertainment lawyer. He was just a lawyer, period. Sorry. In the beginning, yeah.
You need to watch his documentary. It's an Apple Music thing. So Larry Jackson has been working. But But yeah,
I'll
sorry,
be
what
interested
was
in
the
the latter
question?
part of it. No, it wasn't a question. It was just an observation. But
Yeah.
let's bring it back. Let's bring it back all the way back to you. So you talked about 10 years ago you started this thing.
Yes.
Did you set out to become this guy?
No,
So
hell no.
10 years ago, and I want you to bring me into your first interview, if you remember what it was. So let's start with how you came in.
I wish I'd had a plan to come into this thing like this before. Then I'd be so rich right now. But so when I was in standard 2, right, which is grade 4, I'm not aging myself. I'm still the youngest person in the room. Still the youngest person in the room. So when I was in standard 2, by then I'd already known that I wanted to do stuff with words all my life because I started reading before I could go to school. Like I'd go to my grand's office. So she was a principal, primary school principal. And they didn't even have a library. Like literally in her office, they had like a little cabinet with a bunch of books. And there used to be this book in there. I don't even remember what it was called. But basically it was about this girl who was really, really hungry. It was a white girl, strangely, but really, really hungry. And she went into the forest and then she found this pot and then she'd say, cook, little pot, cook. And then it would make porridge.
Oh, I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you'd have to say, stop, little pot, stop.
For it to stop cooking.
Yes, but then her mom didn't know that. And then there was porridge all over the street.
Okay.
Remember that book?
Yeah, I remember the book, yeah.
I don't remember that book.
It was Flood in the Porridge, but yeah, I remember the book, yeah.
So weird.
Wait, is it an authentic African story or is it one of those?
It's not an African story.
Really? It's like Rapunzel and like
It's one of
kind
those, yeah. It's probably one of those.
How come I don't know
It's a white girl.
I don't know that.
Hans Christian Andersen. I was trying to remember the name. It's probably one of those
Really?
books, yeah.
Huh, I don't know how I missed that one, but go ahead.
So I'd figured out that I wanted to do something with words and I didn't necessarily want to be an author until like really late in my life. But in standard 2, I decided I was going to be a copywriter. Remember there used to be those career books that you'd like look through the different vocations and stuff. And so in advertising, there was copywriter. And I was like, well, that's what I'm going to do. So I held on to that dream like till forever. You know, I was going to be a copywriter. And then my dad kept being like, okay, cool, you're going to be a copywriter, fine, whatever. He took me to the AAA open day, whatever. You know.
AAA alumni.
No,
too?
not alumni.
I was. That's I'm referring to me.
He took me to the open day, and I was like, "Yeah, man, I'm gonna come to the school." It was amazing. I was there with all my friends. They didn't know what they wanted to do with their lives, and then like it came time to apply, and my dad was like, "Are they even an accredited school?"
Oh, wow. I bet you want to revoke your AAA alumni.
Let's see where the story
I
goes.
was like, yeah. And I showed him all the research I'd done. And he was like, yeah, sorry, we can't afford that. So then I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. And I was kind of like over my dad and stuff. And then he went.
Sorry. We can't afford it as we can't afford it, or I do not approve of AAA, can't afford it.
No, as in like I do not have the coin for that.
So he wasn't like trying to encourage you to have other dreams.
He wasn't using that as the angle to...
Okay.
I think my dad was just happy I wanted to study something. You know? And so I was like sulking for a few months. And then he applied to Tux for journalism school for me. So I literally got an acceptance letter. And I was like, I did not apply to this. And he was like, yeah, but you want to do stuff with words. So there. And so I went to Tux for a year.
You were dead.
Oh.
And the first interview, so we're going to find out like...
Yeah, okay. So, sorry, my story is very long-winded, so you'll have to edit how you...
It's a podcast. It's a podcast. We don't worry about things like edit.
So Tux didn't quite work out for me. And so what I did was, just before the first holiday break, right, I knew I didn't want to be a journalist. I was there because my dad wanted me to be there. But I went to my journalism lecturer that I really hated because every week he'd make us do like these pop quizzes about news and whatever. And I was like, I don't care. Ask me what's in there tonight. I will tell you, you know?
Yeah.
And I said to him, I'd like to do some proper training with some of these places. Can you get me into Mail and Guardian for the holidays?
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, Mail and Guardian? Whatever. And I was like, okay, but I read Friday all the time. Like, can I get into the Mail and Guardian? And he was like, no, but maybe you can try and email Sowetan.
Wow.
So then I was like, okay, cool. Didn't really want to go to Sowetan. my only other paper that I used to read was like The Star, because my dad would read it, and I would never read like the front page or whatever.
Yeah, straight to
Yeah. So then I emailed the Tonight section and I was like, I'm in first year, I'm really interested in the arts. Can I come and shadow someone for the holidays? They were like, yeah, cool, come through. And then I went for the holidays, went for the next holidays, went for the next holidays. The next year, I couldn't afford school, so they said, cool, come work here as our junior.
That's so awesome. And it's no shade to the Sowetan, by the way. I think the Sowetan it's a dope platform that does its thing.
Yeah, of course.
But for somebody to tell you, I don't want you to go there, I want you to go there rather.
Yeah.
It's like, what's that? It's not your choice. Do you know what I mean? You don't get to decide that for me.
But he was already deciding. He was telling me where I fit in, where my place
His hand was
is.
strong on your career at the beginning, it seems.
Yeah. So I was just like, guys!
Your first interview ever, do you even remember what that was or who that was?
I don't remember my first interview ever. I remember my first non-interview, like as in it wasn't my interview. So the music journalist where I started, incredible woman, Therese Owen, she would just like do everything gonzo style. Like she's the epitome of gonzo journalism. And so like she'd always get these CDs and I'd be like, oh, can I listen to this? Can I listen to that? She'd be like, cool, whatever. And she'd just give me stuff. So I was keeping up with what's happening, but she'd never give me stories. And then one day, Don Laka came to the office and she'd forgotten that he was there to be interviewed. And she was like, so you're interviewing Don Laka today? And I was like, oh, okay. And she was like, but you've heard the album, right? And I was like, yeah, but I wasn't like making notes. And
But you had heard the album?
yes.
Okay, that's dope.
But I couldn't be like, no, I'm not going to do the interview.
Yeah.
So then I walked into that
Plus,
room.
it's Don Laka, ladies and
And Don
gentlemen.
Laka was really upset that it was me and not her.
Oh, wow.
So, but yeah, I think that was my first memorable interview, non-interview.
So you don't you haven't specifically given us the first person you interviewed, but do you remember kind of the era, like what kind of who were the happening musicians? What kind of vibe was it when you started 10 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, at the time, the things that I was interested in, I guess, just because of the background that I come from, you know, the 016, the best fucking place for rap.
The 016, for those of you who are the very sort of
Is that
opposite
Malta?
end of the continent and the globe, it's not. It's the Val.
I'm bad.
Yes.
Okay.
It's the Val. It's called. It's short for Transvaal Triangle.
Why
They call
are
it the
you
Val
putting on an
Triangular
accent?
movement.
Why are you
Do
putting
you know
on
how
an
many Val
accent?
people I know?
What is wrong with you?
That's not even
Why
the
are you putting
accent.
on an
Just put the
accent?
R's in there.
Swan. Haki wali batu se Val Swan. Swan sa.
Don't
I
be
know
this
so many
person,
people from the
please.
Val, my G. I feel like I'm an honorary Val Triangle, Val River swimmer.
I think all like hip hop people from your era, you know, when I age you.
Back in the day, back in the day, yeah.
Yeah, are honorary Val people.
I agree,
Like,
I think
we
so.
are the most authentic South African hip hop people
I think
in
so.
the country.
Well, you know, I'm sure people in the mother city will beg to differ, but
Yeah,
I do
okay.
think that there's a little seed that was sown in the Val that grew into this wonderful scene that we've seen today.
Okay.
But yeah, she's talking about the 016, the Val.
Yeah. So at the time, it was a lot of hip hop. And I remember one of my first big covers was Josie.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah.
that was around when they were trying to bring crunk to South
Yeah.
Africa.
So that's Deleuze, Ishmael.
Yeah.
Elias,
Yeah.
my spirit animal. But it was a lot of crunk. It was a lot of outrageous record stuff. I'm trying to think what the mainstream was.
It
I
was
guess
that.
that
Motherland
was-
Crunk was
Yeah.
the thing.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think what
Like
was happening
parallel
in
to that,
Kwaito.
what else
and-
was
What
happening?
Well, quite the movement in the Motherland Crunk days. What else was popping them days?
Like Zola
Um,
was
Wasn't that when
Yeah.
like
at the
Malaika
time.
and all those groups were kind of...
I think it might have
No,
been just
no, that was
before
a-
Malaika, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so pre-Bongo Muffin era, and it wasn't pre-Bongo Muffin era. Post-Bongo Muffin era. Thandi Somazwai era.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think she just...
Gallo- yeah,
I think
Gallo
she just
Records
did that
signing up,
documentary
or-
when she went up to the Eastern Cape and got in touch with her roots. I think that was around...
before Zabalaza.
I haven't
Before-
seen that.
That's
Yeah.
why she went. in the documentary.
To do
Yeah.
like some groundwork for that album.
A beautiful time in music. I think some of those albums that came out in that time went on to literally shape not just the sound of South Africa today, but the consciousness of what South African music is today.
Yeah.
You know, so like I say, you had your Tandiswas and you had your Motherland Crunks. All these things for me kind of were seminal in what they represented in the sound of South African urban music, you know?
But also just in the sense of like beginning a rock starness. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't know about Tandiswa. I love Tandiswa, but I don't know about her.
That's the biggest rock star on the planet.
No, I mean, I don't know enough about her behind the scenes-ness when she was creating Zabalaza.
Oh, I see.
To be like, oh yeah, she was really living that rock star
True.
life. But do you know that when they were doing Motherland Crunk, they were actually like tricked into making it.
Oh.
So Lance kept saying to the guys, we got to make this album, we got to make this album. These boys were not listening. I mean, Crazy Lou was like a child star and stuff.
Lou.
I forgot about him.
Crazy
Like,
Lou.
yeah.
So he had no time to listen to a grown-up. And then Lance told them, oh, we just have to go somewhere to do something quickly. We'll be back.
Yeah.
And they ended up in some remote, I think, part of Pretoria or something. I can't remember. I could be wrong. Elias, my bad. But, so he took them to this remote place where there was no network. They couldn't like chat to their friends or whatever. And he was like, you're creating the album. Goodbye.
Wow.
And
See
that
you
was
guys in a
kind of,
month.
yeah. And that was how they had to create Motherland Crunk. And then what came out of that was like, who was sampling Vustimba?
Yeah, exactly.
And especially for like a rap thing and like a very pop rap thing as well. Like it wasn't like they were saying, oh yeah, let's put our fists in the air, let's take up arms.
Yeah.
No, they're like, what's with the attitude?
They're just having fun.
You
And I
know?
think that's one of the challenges today is people are trying to figure out how best to kind of create, it's almost like a merge of the two worlds where you have what's popping and hot right now in terms of like the sound of hip hop and what is authentic and true school African music, but as it represents the psychology and the psyche and mentality of youth today in the subject matter and the content and the approach. And I think that Motherland Crunk for me is one of the albums that did that best so far. I don't think anything touches it yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's either you're all the way trap and US and Western, or
Which
you go,
is what's we hear mostly
Right.
at the
Yeah.
moment.
or then you go all the way either Afrobeat or very sort of like ethnic with ethnocentric sounds, you know?
You're right. The thing was, it sounded effortless. It wasn't like, somebody went into a lab and put all these sounds together. It just sounded right.
And
37, man.
even in between all of that, what's with the attitude and like, wait till you see my... Can we swear on the show? Like,
Yeah, it's a podcast.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and all of that stuff. They were still talking about like the hardships that they'd had. And you wouldn't think someone like Deleuze has had hardships, but he talks about the things that he's gone through. Ishmael talks about having to flip burgers and pump gas and, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But they made it in such a way that if you got past, oh, they're making crunk, you could actually get something more meaningful from that album. But
That's
anyway,
deep,
this is
yeah.
not a plug for Motherland.
No, but it's interesting. I was just gonna, because you were talking about them being in a remote part. For about 5 years of my life, 4.5, I suppose, I was at a boarding school in Zambia, and during that time, obviously, I wanted to get a feel of what was happening in the city. But you're isolated because of the fact that you're at boarding school, and it was the newspapers, the entertainment columns that you combed through to kind of get a vibe as to what was happening in the city. So. Respect to you guys and what you're doing.
Yeah, because
they
you
were
give
fun,
real
those
It's like a
days.
window into,
Fun days.
Yeah, pre-internet blogging and
exactly. Yeah.
Internet blogging is great.
I know, but let's get into that. I mean, the transition between that era and today, obviously there's certain things that jump out at you as to how vastly different it is. What are those things that jump out at you?
Time.
What is that time? What do you mean time? Let's just clarify.
I'll give you an example. We went to the Major Lazer particular video launch. 2 days, 3 days. What's today?
3
Monday.
days ago, I saw people.
Last week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Last week, right?
Good.
So in the newspaper world, you have deadlines, right? So in order for me to make this Wednesday's deadline, I mean, this Wednesday's publication, I'd have to hand in by this Monday, right? Otherwise, it can't go.
Into the paper.
Is Kipani had their stuff like on the Thursday or Friday or something, like a day or something later. And they were like showing you video. This is what happened. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
What is there to say now, a week
Just talk,
later?
wait till Wednesday.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait.
Do not, whatever you do, look at, I have something else for you. It's the
Yeah.
same thing, but
So that's kind of made things a bit tricky in the sense that we're also on the internet. You know, I could put up the story that day, but I guess because of how we work and also just my own, not old schoolness, because I'm not that old.
no, you're not. Just because you've been in the game 10 years,
Yeah.
a decade.
10 years ago.
Nah,
But I still feel like, you know, when you're reading something in a newspaper, like, there's a thing, man.
yeah,
Like,
that's because you're old school. Listen, there isn't a thing. People want content. And I know
Yes.
I have this conversation with people who write books as well and who love reading books. The difference between like flipping through the pages with your fingers.
Oh, no, I'm not there
versus,
no more.
Yeah, you bought a Kindle and everything, right?
Yeah. I got a Kindle for my birthday. Or was it Christmas? I got gifted a Kindle.
Cool.
And my life completely changed. Like, I don't understand why we must hold books.
But yet you
life.
want to hold a newspaper?
Yeah. I guess it's because I'm in the newspaper
Very true.
business.
That's exactly it.
So where does your blog fit into?
Doesn't.
That was quick. Next question.
I only really blog about things that I think will help other people get closer to being themselves just because the thing happened to me, you know. But in terms of like what I put on the blog, it's essentially what I'm writing anyway, and you might have missed it in the newspaper. So
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
So
you
about like a
check it
different
out.
angle or exactly
no,
the same.
it's,
Yeah.
I'm dope. Why did
Yeah.
I change that?
stay dope on the paper, stay dope. So you're not using the blog to express things that you would not necessarily express with the
In the paper.
No, I have friends. I can tell them that stuff.
Oh, really?
No.
Okay. That's
I'm just
interesting.
really
Okay, of course, then the
lazy.
blog is yours versus the newspaper that's kind of someone else's platform.
Yeah.
Same opinion, same thoughts, same vibe. Just this is my stuff that I will forever own versus the stuff I do for these people that they own.
Yeah, but I think just a bit of a distinction, I suppose. Like a lot of people get employed to churn out words, right? But we've been really lucky, like people in our company, some of us have been really lucky in the sense that your voice is what's valued. So whether I'm writing on the blog or in the paper, it's me.
Yeah.
It's not, I'm giving you a report of whatever. I'm not sitting in court, like, and then the witness said, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's another thing that sometimes we miss in this transition of like the digital age where everyone is just, not everyone, but some people just want to give you the picture of what happened or like the video of what happened, but they're not adding their own voice to it.
Right. I agree with that, man. I agree with that. And you know, that's kind of what I love about like news broadcasters, especially like from the US, because I consume a lot of like US-based news broadcast type news. And you get a real clear sense of what their agenda is as a broadcaster, what the perspective is as the presenter or the host of that particular show. So you know that, okay, if you're watching this news channel and this guy on this particular show, he's going to say things like this because that's who he is.
Yeah.
And if he was to move from this channel to the next, he's going to take those opinions with him and probably his audience. Whereas a lot of people here, you kind of have a sense that the people on the station or the people at the magazine or on the broadcaster, they just kind of reading off a prompter, and it could be anyone reading that. You know, it's almost like it's just a face to someone else's scripts and ideas.
Yeah. I think that's what they call the tone of the publication.
Right.
You have to fit into the tone. But I mean, fortunately for us, we were always encouraged to have your own voice and to disagree with things. And you know what I mean? It wasn't the age of advertorials. So you can say what you want. You don't have to like something.
Dope.
So
I wanted to also check with you. Initially, in the beginning, you talked about your focus being South African music, like, but you also cast your eye on what's happening in the rest of the continent musically and stuff. And do you bring that also?
No, I just listen to Niger music. That's all.
No,
All
shit.
the
Well,
other
that's
parts
honest.
of the continent. I'm sorry, I don't know anything about you.
No.
I think
No,
that is
I-
dope. I think that level of honesty is real. Because I'll tell you what, Chilu.
No, okay. You tell me, then I'll try and I'll try.
No,
to
you go
challenge
in.
it. Yeah.
But that honesty for me is dope because a lot of people think they're talking about African music when they're actually just talking about either
Tiwa
South
Savage.
African music or Nigerian music.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, African music. Like, no.
Yeah.
That's at best West African music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the reason I'm asking is, didn't you do something on Angelique Kidjo?
Benin, yes.
Yeah, so now at least so that got
But-
South Africa,
but-
Niger, Benin. You got 3.
But Angelique Kidjo is like the fairy godmother of the continent.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like she's not.
So she's an exception.
Yeah, she's from Benin.
Yeah.
You guys can have her, but she's really ours. You know what I mean? And
She's the real Mama Africa.
yeah.
Oh no,
I
let
mean,
me not say that. Let me not get into trouble.
Let's relax. with
Current.
that.
She's actually
relax.
putting out an album of covers of Miriam Makeba.
Oh wow.
Who else? I think 2 other women.
Hmm.
And she's doing a Talking Heads album.
Nice.
I think she's just in a space where she's like.
She just
I
recently
don't
did a
wanna
thing with
sing my own.
Simpiwe Dana, didn't she?
That was Asha.
Oh.
And some other lady whose name I'm forgetting.
But
But
from the continent.
pardon?
A continental icon.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Could be anyone.
All right. We'll Google.
I love that my own voice thing. Let's talk about your voice for a little bit.
Yeah.
So
But
before
can I
we
just
get,
clarify? Like,
Mhm.
my focus is South African music, right? Every day people are releasing stuff. I can barely keep up with South African music. So by the time I have listened to things that I have to listen to for work and things that I actually want to listen to, I don't have time to like go and scour like what's happening in Somalia. You know, it has
That's
to
true.
like
That's honest. Yeah.
come to me on the feed, on the timeline or whatever. And then like I'll pay attention. Oh, okay, cool. There's that. So I'm very interested in hearing other things from the continent. But if the mission is going to be to try and give South Africans a fair chance, then I don't have a lot of time to like
Makes sense. Yeah.
That's fair. That's
anyone
fair.
but Wizkid and Tiwa in my life.
Fair enough. That's fair enough. Wizkid and Tiwa, you know.
Enough,
yeah,
eh?
those are
Okay.
enough. Your voice. So we go from writing to your speaking. You obviously have a beautiful speaking
We
voice.
have 3 voice artists.
Yeah, so I would know what a
Right
beautiful
now.
speaking voice is. I had one all my life. It's been a long life to get to terms with a beautiful speaking voice. Congratulations for the Standard Bank voice thing.
Why you gotta do that?
Because it's a big deal.
Please,
I mean,
can we edit that out?
do we know?
No,
do we know
please,
about this,
wait,
the big
wait,
dealness of this
wait.
voice?
Can we please edit that out? Because they not paid me enough to be like the voice of no.
We're gonna keep that and this
And
right
this
there,
both.
and we're gonna send it directly to the Standard Bank inbox. Pay her more than enough.
I mean, ABSA might want to cut a check. Now you're like,
they must cut the check. They must
Yeah.
all cut the check.
No
that's all I
exclusivity up
want.
in there.
Yeah.
That's all I. So anyway,
Congratulations.
coming back from the start of
Yeah.
this voiceness,
Yeah.
because that part no longer exists. Yes.
No,
that's what you think.
No, that's not. Can I tell you? I don't know about his story. This is how it works with voice stuff. You start by doing something, and then it just ends up
Morphs
doing
into
other
something else. Yeah.
Right. So congratulations for that.
Thank you.
You know, as far as you personally, as somebody who isn't necessarily a voice but a writer, getting into voice, which we'll expand on again, how did that feel for you?
Scary.
Why?
Because I never liked my voice ever.
But can I
And-
say something before? No one likes their own voice the first time they hear it because
Lies.
what
I'm sure
you
you
think
guys
you're-
are like.
No, serious.
I
What you
have to
think you're
admit, when I
You
came
know?
out, my mom's, I was like, before the first crowd, I was like,
Lion King.
I was like, it's on. No. Those are actual real words. Did you Zambian ass?
Are they?
You guys are the worst.
Anyway, continue. You
Sorry,
never liked
yeah.
your voice.
No, I didn't. And that's a huge reason why I never thought I could do radio. Because I always wanted to do radio, but like I always thought I sounded like crap. And then my sister works in advertising. So I don't even remember how we got to this point to discussing this. And then I was like, well, why don't you just start your own company and I'll be your voice? And she was like, oh, okay, cool. And then she said, hey, do you want to come and try out for this voice thing? was like, sure, why not? And then I went and they liked it.
I love that ad.
Yeah.
You remember, it's what's your next thing?
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
It's been playing a lot, but I also wanted to find out, because you're also in Touch HD, isn't it?
Yes.
So that's also a new thing, like...
Yeah.
That's you coming to terms with your voice and how it sounds. Getting the cosign of T-Bow Touch.
I don't know if that's coming to terms with my voice. I still don't like my voice, but what is the alternative? To not get South African musicians talking on the radio? Like, that's really it. Like, are you going to talk to these people and stop complaining that people aren't asking them the right questions? Or are you going to worry about your voice?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer choice.
Well, whether you like it or not is kind of irrelevant, because people do like it and will put money,
And I think that's the ultimate cosign.
Yeah.
When someone is willing to put their brand behind your voice,
Yeah.
and they are a brand,
Exactly.
then I think you can safely say your voice is dope.
Well, I hope to do more voices, just because like I enjoy, I don't know, like embodying something else. You know what I mean? And it's a nice check. So,
Can I tell you what?
You'll take it.
When I did my first few, I can't remember if it was the first one that I ever did in South Africa, and I was amped to see it on TV, because at the time I was a waiter. So I was at college at AAA.
Yeah.
During the day, I was a
Lucky
waiter
you.
at the Spur at night. So I'm at the Spur, and then the TV's on, and here comes this ad, and I'm thinking, there it is, because I can see everything as it was in studio, and I'm waiting for my voice to come in at the end. And then the voice comes in and it's somebody else's. Like, dejected and a head low. And then in the mail came a check which said rejection fee. And that rejection fee was a lot more than I was earning as a waiter. I'm like, if I can be rejected 3 times a month,
I'm nice.
that's rent.
What did you do with your first check that wasn't a rejection check from Voices?
I think I bought a phone.
Oh,
Nice.
Yeah, I think. I can't remember. But yeah, I think I bought a
that's
phone.
money.
Smart.
Sure. What did you do with
I
your
don't
first
remember what I did with that thing.
check? You blew it.
It's gone now. I'll tell you that much for free. It's gone now. I want to talk a little bit about your blueprint for life. Do you have one? Are you just
Angie Martinez. No.
Really?
No.
Why did that name pop up in your mind? just
Because
like
she
that?
recently just did a blueprint with Complex.
What do you mean a blueprint? Like of
You
her
know
life?
Complex magazine?
Well,
Complex,
online, yeah.
the campaign, because it's not magazine anymore. They do a series called The Blueprint.
Okay.
And they basically talk to whoever's made it in life about how they made it, how they started their second wind in their careers, that sort of
things
thing.
like that.
So they had
Okay, well, what I'm talking about is a bit different in the sense that, do you have like a standard, a go-to goal, someone that you see as like, this is where I'm trying to get to. This is who I'm trying to kind of emulate, walk in the shoes of. It's like a mentorship, but a little bit more personal.
Personal as in I know the person?
No, as in it's something that for you...
It resonates.
Yeah, this is who you see yourself in.
My idol in life is Danielle Smith. Do you know Danielle?
No.
Do you know Danielle?
No.
I know your spirit
It's
animal.
Will's sister.
Is it?
No.
Where's
See,
Smith?
like I don't even want to like tell people about this because then she's gonna be their idol and then
No, and that's
then we're gonna be
fine.
crowded.
Then everyone-
in the
yeah, then everyone can
fandom.
Safe here.
So Danielle Smith started her career by lying her ass off. So she wanted to write. So she's from Oakland, and she wanted to write, and nobody was giving her a chance, obviously. And she also had like a lot of university woes, and she had to go back to school and whatever. Anyway, one of the first big stories that she did was she called up MC Hammer's people and was like, I work for Essence magazine. Can I interview this guy? And they were like, yeah, of course. Essence.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So she did the interview, like apparently it was really late to the hotel or whatever, but she did it and they liked it, whatever. And she then went on to be the editor of Vibe. She started as a music editor and she became the actual editor of Vibe. And she's also been the editor of Billboard magazine. She
Wow.
works with ESPN's Undefeated right now. She's married to Elliot Wilson,
Wow.
but
yeah,
she's the
yellow
real
nigga.
star.
Really?
In that, for me, she's the real star in that
Yellow
relationship.
niggas.
Because she's in her 50s and she's still writing. she doesn't want to be about hip hop so much anymore, but she's got a book coming out about Black R&B singers, like from Whitney and Aretha and all of those people. So she's like everything, because all the music journalists that I looked up to are in their 30s and 40s and not writing. So
that's so interesting. That you looked up to, they're not writing anymore.
Yeah.
Anymore, or
but does that say anything about, choices you made, or?
in what sense?
Put it this way, like when I started out, I'm always going back to my own stories. When
But
I
your stories
started
are
out,
interesting. Tell us.
Yeah, back in my day.
Back in my day, there were two people that I kind of used to look at. One of them was Errol Hickey, who passed away this year, but he owned the radio station where I worked, and he was like a media institution since I was a kid in Zambia. And then there was a newsreader whose name I shouldn't mention because of the kind of example I'm giving. But he had been an institution in terms of news reading, like his entire life. And if I looked at the two, one of them was like getting wealthier by the year, becoming more influential and stuff. The other guy was a newsreader. You know what I mean? Like, up until like this year, he's still, So it was like, which example do you kind of want to follow? Which one resonates with? And for me, it was Errol Hickey, and that's kind of So I've forgotten what question I asked you.
wanted the money.
That's my story.
You were following the money.
I didn't want to be categorized as as one thing. So like even though now people look at me and say Chilu is a voice artist, under that, there's a lot of other things that are happening, And so I'm cool with the choices that I made because I can see that it every year the more layers unfold. So when you talk about the fact that a lot of the guys that you used to look up to in their 30s quit doing what they were doing, it's one of those where I'm wondering, because you've got a passion for it, which is tangible. We can feel it, here. And will that passion, that fire, carry you to where what's her name?
Danielle Smith.
With a Y.
Yeah.
Danielle.
Where Danielle Smith is in the 50s, you're still writing books about your journey and stuff, or do you kind of have a fear that it could fizzle out when you get to your honestly mid-30s, but I don't even know.
Yeah, she's nowhere near that. She's far from mid-30s.
Yeah, okay, so mid-30s. Yeah, that's the magic number. How are you feeling about the question? Does it make sense?
I think I understand what you're saying, and I hesitate to answer because you can't say you're upset about people no longer writing when eventually you're not going to write anymore. Dream Hampton, when I used to follow her on Twitter, she'd always tweet that she doesn't like writing. She likes to have written. Makes sense? She doesn't like writing.
Okay.
She likes to have written.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so get it. Yeah.
So I think I'm the same. Like, I don't enjoy it.
Don't enjoy the process, but you enjoy it in the rear view.
Yeah, I like being like, I did that.
Yeah.
I said that. Woo.
That's interesting.
That's deep, yeah.
Let's move. Are you spiritual?
Spiritual?
Are you a spiritual person?
Like, not religious?
Is that how you understand the question? If that's how you understand the question, you want to take it there? Are you not religious?
I think I am a work in progress spiritually.
Okay. So you're on the journey.
Yes.
Okay. And how's this journey going for you?
I don't know how to answer that.
However
It's a work in progress. So it's going. Every day I'm learning.
Okay, fair enough. I feel like one of the things that people don't realize when they create content, whether it's music or whether you write about music or whether you in any other content creation, is just how deeply spiritual the process is. Sure, there's the technical aspect and then there's the mental aspect of it. You can think things through, the intellectual aspect, but then there's the spiritual aspect of what you're doing. For me, when I used to read Source magazine back in the day, right? The Source,
like,
and they gave no, and they gave like an album a 5 mic review, like Illmatic. Sure, I was reading the words off the page and I was reading what the reviewer was saying, but I was feeling the importance of this album, not only in the landscape of music, but just in my own personal life as a guy who went on to create hip hop music, And I feel like for what you do, to not bring in the spiritual aspect of what you do would be a disservice. it's deep what you do in terms of how it resonates with people.
Yeah.
You don't feel that way when you write? You don't feel that way when you create?
No.
Job and that's it? You get paid, you go home?
No. So with the whole idea of having written, it's not like being a musician where you go into a trance and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm just writing. And then afterwards I'm like, that's dope. So I don't think that that's me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I'm not sitting there like, I mean, all writers have writers' egos, I think, you know, where you're like, yeah, I did that. But it's not really me. Can't speak for other people.
Fair
I don't
enough.
think that that's me. That's definitely a higher something. And I don't think it's my job to figure out how it resonates with other people or if it touches them or whatever. Like, I'm writing what's coming out. You know what I mean?
Do you even think of the audience that reads it?
Yeah.
Okay. Just as in, I hope they like it, or I hope it convinces them of my viewpoint, or at least let them recognize that I'm a dope writer at the very least.
I never hope that they like it.
Really?
Yeah. I always hope that they walk away thinking they know a little bit more about an artist than they did before. You know what I mean? So, just recently I read
Radical reading.
a article by Julianne, I always get her name incorrect. Julianne Escopedo Shepherd or something. Johnita on Twitter. Johnita. An article she wrote a long time ago for The Fader about Ty Dolla $ign. I don't care about Ty Dolla $ign. Like, misogynist in you know, he's got nice eyes, but that's it.
It's dope. Anyway,
you say nice ass or nice eyes?
Nice eyes.
Oh,
I mean, I know I said red, but I didn't say ass.
Red eyes. Oh.
So anyway, she writes about how he keeps his weed in a mason jar and how his daughter comes to visit and like how he shoots these ads and he's not allowed to smoke in the ads, so he drinks his lean and whatever. But by the end of the article, like she starts the piece off by saying 2 by 2, these girls come into the condo. And like you can just see it. You're like, oh. So by the end of the article, I was like, I still don't like you. I'm still not going to go and get your album. But now I know kind of a sense of who you are and where you're coming from with making the kind of music that you're making. That's what I hope people get from it. This is not PR. I'm not trying to make you like the artist. I'm not trying to make you like me. But I hope you learn something more about South African musicians than just, oh, there's an album out.
That's deep.
Yeah, that's fair enough. You just want to give it to them and let them make up their minds with as much information as they can get. We're about to round up.
Yeah.
How would you define success for you personally?
How do I define success?
Not in general, for you.
I think every day it kind of changes. And I think I'm really lucky that I have someone I speak to every day and we like bounce things off each other. And I'm always like, today I'm not feeling, you know? So I think like we speak a lot about what we want for our personal development and what success is. So I think it changes a lot. But right now, today, success is being able to give South African music a voice and not be broke for it.
That's dope.
Yeah, well summarized.
Yeah, that's dope. That's dope. I feel like you're growing, man. Right in front of my face. Yeah, that's in front of my face. You just First time I met you was like over 10 years ago, and you were like a little embryonic stages of life.
Wow.
Now she's out here like,
spitting truth, spitting
dropping
wisdom.
gems. Do you feel like this moment in your life is teaching you something? Is showing you something specific? And if you feel like it is, what is that?
I think the most basic but like biggest lesson in my life at the moment, and it's like a recurring lesson is stuff that we've spoken about. And it's that vibration thing, man. Like, if you're not radiating it, or rather, whatever you're radiating is what you're going to get back. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
I saw something that Alicia Keys posted this morning that life is not doing something to you, it's reacting to you. I forgot what the first part is, but basically it's reacting to.
So life is not happening to you.
Yeah.
You are literally happening to life and
Yeah.
watching its response.
And I feel like there were too many years where I wasn't in control and I was in the passenger seat or most likely in the back seat all the time. And the thing that I'm learning right now is if it works, it's on me. If it doesn't work,
It's on you.
it's on me.
Beautiful.
Are you going to write a book?
No.
Okay.
I used to want to write a book. Now I'm like,
You know, all the writer friends in your life don't want to write.
Write a book.
Bro. They don't want to write. They don't
Is it
wanna
because of
write.
the process?
I don't
or
get
is
it.
like, is it that whole thing of, you want it written, but the writing is what's going to be in the way? Or is it just...
no. I actually wrote a book with a
Oh.
close friend of mine. Finished our book. It's a short book, but
Where is it? I want to read it.
we wrote it.
Where is it?
And I finished another book, but I just don't have the desire to right now. Maybe like in 10 years, I'm going to
Yeah.
be like, yeah, let me get down to that
Yeah.
book. But
So there's time.
Fair enough. You want to give me the drum roll for the rapid fire, which is awesome. Whatever pops
There's
into
like
your
rapid
mind,
fire?
rapid fire.
Rapid
This is how
fire.
we shut it down.
We should
here.
have an intro for the rapid fire.
Yeah, we should have like a bumper and
Rapid
everything.
fire. Africans Unlocked. Rapid fire questions.
Yeah. All right. You just tell me what you think. When I shoot a question at you, there's options. Sometimes there's thoughts. Whatever comes to your mind, you let me know.
this is scary.
It's not that deep.
Okay,
All
let's
right, so
do it.
First one. Can I take this one?
Yeah, take it.
Tandis Omazwai or Tiwa Savage?
What about them?
Who do you prefer? What comes into your mind?
That's not
What's
even
your
like
option?
a real question.
It's not a
in
prefer, as in
life.
what's your preference?
It's
Listen
rapid
to-
fire.
It's rapid
Just
fire.
whatever comes to mind.
No.
Tandis Omazwai or Tiwa Savage?
But what comes to mind is that's not a real question.
It is. It's what comes to your mind.
Helen.
Okay, how about this? Green.
What about it?
Exactly. That's not the way
Like-
this works. You don't decide the rules when you come here. We tell you the rules and you play by them. Here's how it works. We say some things to you, whatever comes to your mind. If what comes to your mind is what's the question, then we move on to the next thing.
Okay.
Whatever
Ask
comes
me
to your
again.
mind.
So let's try the Tandiso
Fine,
versus...
I'll
No,
see you.
let's
You wanna drop that
one
one?
is gone.
Okay,
let's
cool.
do another random one. Testing grounds. Testing ground. Tippy toes.
Elias?
Very good. Well done. See, now we're going
Yay.
somewhere. All right, now we move on.
Trickery.
Sound or touch?
Touch.
Do you wanna?
HD.
Yeah. I saw you
Listen
go in
to
there.
the
I saw you
future.
go in
Enough
there.
said. Enough said.
Mondays and Tuesdays,
Oh,
8 p.m.
They better cut you a check
Well, they kind of do.
out here.
so
Promo. No,
that's
but
great.
for the promo, not for what you do. What you do, they cut you. I'm talking about this promo extra stuff.
And
Inspirational.
I'm on
talent.
Sundays as well.
Yeah. Check her out. Touch HD. We'll scroll these things down. Inspirational talent.
Inspiration or talent?
or talent.
Talent. Because, like, what is the point of being inspired and then you can't do anything?
Okay, it's not about me.
So, no, tell me.
No. Beauty.
Tell me.
Okay, since you insist, I think you don't need to be talented to be inspired. And inspired people tap into reserves within themselves that talented people can't tap into without inspiration. So, you asked, and here it is.
Okay.
Beauty or grace?
Mugabe.
Bro, this is not about you either. Chilu,
You just answered it. All right,
she
sorry,
insisted
okay.
I
I'm
answer. Who
stepping back, I'm
insisted you
stepping back.
answer? No one insisted you answer, bro.
I'll step back.
Step back. Beauty or grace? Mugabe. Sorry, I just... My bad. Beauty or grace?
Did she ever get charged for that?
Come on.
Like that battery? Or we just gonna...
Nah.
By the time the episode goes to air, maybe she would have,
Yeah.
I mean, that
But
girl...
beauty or grace, though?
That girl was beautiful before
Grace.
So you're going to go with beauty.
Mm.
So what are your thoughts? Those are your thoughts? That girl was beautiful before Grace? Because that's
That is
some kind
clever,
of-
though. That is clever.
Yeah, that's my answer.
All right, last one, then we wrap it up. Radio or TV?
Radio.
Yeah?
Is that your final answer?
You know, when I went to go interview the legendary Brenda Sisani, she was telling me how proud of me she is and whatever. You know, I'm doing good in radio. And then she was like, so are you ready for TV? I'm like, what do you mean? Just like started over here. She was like, because that's the natural progression. That's how it happens. First, you get the radio show. In a year, you're on TV. That's what happens. And for me, if TV happens, great. I hope the check is nice. But radio, man. Radio.
Okay.
Yeah, radio.
I agree.
All right, Helen, thanks so much for coming through.
Thank
Really
you
appreciate it. That
guys
wasn't
for
so bad.
inviting me.
Right?
That was dope.
Pretty dope.
No, I feel like we're going to need to edit quite a few things.
Yeah.
Yes, I
Out of-
guarantee you that we will not edit a thing out of this thing. I'll tell you right
Stays
now.
as is.
Out of
Puts
this
toots. That's
podcast.
how we roll
I'll
here.
tell you
Puts
right
toots.
now. It's all going out on the internet forever and ever and ever.
Amen.
I really appreciate you
Why
coming
is
through.
there like no woman on this?
There is one, you.
No,
Ta-da.
like I mean in your...
Give us one good reason why we need to have that.
You don't need to do anything.
Okay, well, why would
but
you
I'm
suggest
just
that? One
wondering
good reason.
why like you don't have a woman.
We're open to it.
Yeah.
We open to another guy coming through. Even we don't have
But
those
enough
kind
guys.
of.
We
Enough
got no
guys.
restrictions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I look forward to seeing how this show grows.
Yeah, nah, us too.
It's
Like,
interesting.
10 years time, Zubs will be saying, this show was an embryo.
In its embryonic stage.
Well, I hope in 10 years we have at least cubs or like
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, with a little bit of sippy something, just to get the
Yeah,
guests
some
relaxed.
lean.
some
No.
lean. Some lean.
No, geez.
You are
Thanks.
not trying to do
No,
drink
we're
champs.
not drink Sam. Not out here. Yo, thank you so much for coming through.
Thank
Good
you.
luck with all the other stuff you're doing.
Thank you.
And honestly, I'm mad proud of what you're doing up until this point. And it's
Thank you.
beautiful to watch, So onwards and upwards.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Viva!
Thanks, Chilu.
Thank you. Last letter.